commitment. It is an awesome contrast between Palm Sunday and Gethsemane. They were only 4 days apart. Palm Sunday, some say 1 million people chanting, praising him, talking about the wonderful things that he has done. People laying their coats on the ground for a donkey to walk on. That excited, ecstatic crowd, cheering. Even the children were praising him. The disciples were no doubt excited because this was their moment. They had been with him for 3.5 years, and now finally people recognize who he is. They finally recognize he is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and crowds are enthusiastically giving him praise. So much so the Pharisees wanted to call a time out and say that's enough. But Jesus said, "No, if these stop, the rocks are going to pick up where they left off." And I'm quite sure, knowing Satan's MO, that just as he tempted Jesus in the wilderness, I'm quite sure Satan was whispering in his ear, "Why you got to go to the cross? You got them now. They already saying that you the king. They already are celebrating you. They already are declaring and bowing down that you are the one that David prophesied about. Isn't this what you wanted? Isn't this what you came for?" But you got to understand your commitment and your assignment. Jesus truly is the King of Kings. And yes, he did come to be known as God's only begotten Son, but that was not his total assignment. Because even though the people were adoring him, even though the people were praising him, even though crowds were bowing down, even though they were throwing palm leaves in the way and taking off their expensive jackets for a donkey to walk on, their sins were not covered. And so Satan wants Jesus to avoid the cross at all costs. If I can just get him to void his assignment, then I can win. I don't mind people praising him as long as they in sin. I don't mind people calling him the Son of God as long as their sins are not forgiven. Without the cross, they can shout all they want. If they don't believe in the blood, they going to hell with me. So his job, Satan, once again, as he did in the desert, I'm quite sure told him, just forget about the cross and just accept the cheers of the crowd. But when you are committed to what God has assigned to you, you have to risk being all by yourself. If you really are committed to your assignment, you have to divorce yourself from the validation of people, of needing people to claim who you are, or somehow or another tying your self-esteem to the number of cheerleaders you have in your corner. There comes a time, if you're going to go to another level, when you made up in your mind that I already know what God has destined for my life, and what God has for me, it is for me. And whether you cheer, it's for me. If you boo, it's still for me. Because somebody needs to know today that when you say that song, I'll go, if I have to go by myself, you better watch what you really are saying. Because many of us, if mama don't go, we ain't going. If daddy don't go, we ain't going. If wife don't give us permission to go, because I heard Dr. Jackson speaking this week about weak men like Ahab who are afraid of their own wife like Jezebel. We ain't going. If husbands don't go, many wives ain't going because they lose their identity in who they are. Children, if parents don't go, children won't go. Because somehow or another we think mom and daddy can save us. But if the reality is that if you're going to be what God called you to be, you got to make up in your mind, I'm glad to have you with me, but if you don't go, I'm going anyhow. You know, I look at the space shuttle go up in the air. Really two vehicles go up. One goes at a certain distance. Then after a while, as it begins to ascend up into the stratosphere, it drops off so the shuttle can move a little higher. If the shuttle doesn't separate from the other vehicle, it can't move any higher. Some of y'all can't break the atmosphere because you still stuck to something that was only supposed to get you so high, so then you could go to another level. And I come to tell somebody, if you gonna ever separate, you ain't going no higher than you going right now. But if you want to go into orbit, baby, if you want to go into the stratosphere, in the atmosphere, you gotta let some stuff go and understand they're there for a season.